Chapter 1. The Silent Thief of Strength. Most men and women who enter the weight room carry an invisible weakness with them. It is not poor genetics, nor a lack of discipline. It is far simpler and far more dangerous. Dehydration. In my 40 years of observing lifters, from eager teenagers loading the bar with reckless pride to seasoned athletes chasing their final personal records, I have seen this mistake repeated more than any other. They arrive ready to push their bodies to the limit, yet they forget the very fuel that allows their muscles to fire. The numbers are merciless. Lose just 2% of your body's water, and your strength can fall by nearly 20%. Imagine walking into the gym with your hard-earned progress, only to have a fifth of it vanish before the first set is complete. The bar feels heavier, the lungs burn sooner, and the pump you expect in your arms or chest never arrives. What should have been a victorious session turns into frustration and doubt. Worse still, the signs creep in quietly. A faint headache, a dryness in the mouth you ignore, a sluggishness that you blame on a bad night's sleep. But in truth, the silent thief has already stolen from you before you noticed. This is where our journey begins. Not with exotic supplements, not with complicated programming, but with water, the cheapest, most overlooked performance enhancer in existence. Before you dream of heavier lifts and bigger muscles, you must first master this simplest rule of strength: never train thirsty. Chapter 2. The Young Man. Without a bottle. When I first met Daniel, he was 23, full of fire, and convinced that his discipline would carry him anywhere. He showed up at the gym every morning at 6 sharp, long before the rest of the city stirred. His dedication was undeniable. He logged his sets, tracked his macros, even polished his lifting shoes after every squat session. To him, every detail mattered, except one: he never carried water. I noticed it on his 3rd week of training under my eye. He walked in with a black coffee clutched in one hand, headphones in the other. He stretched, loaded the bar, and attacked his first kin with the aggression of a man chasing greatness. Yet by the 3rd set, his shoulders sagged, his breathing grew ragged, and he rubbed his temples as if fighting a headache. "Rough night's sleep?" I asked. "No," he replied, shaking his head. "I just feel drained." There it was, the same refrain I had heard from hundreds before him. They blame the program, the diet, or even genetics, while the simplest truth stares them in the face. Daniel was training on a dry engine. His muscles were screaming not for more caffeine, not for some exotic pre-workout powder, but for water. I kept watching. Each day followed the same pattern: a strong beginning, then a slow unraveling. He mistook fatigue for weakness, and weakness for lack of progress. Frustration built. I could see it in his eyes when he re-racked the bar. Doubt. He thought he was failing. In reality, his body was simply thirsty. Daniel's story is not unique. He represents countless young men and women filling gyms across America, armed with ambition, but blind to one of the most basic truths of training. They prepare their playlists, measure their protein shakes, and chase the next personal record. Yet they forget the clear, tasteless ally that sits in every faucet and every fountain. Chapter 3. The Root Cause Revealed. The following week, Daniel approached me after a training session. His t-shirt clung to him with sweat, his hands trembled slightly, and frustration weighed on his face. "Coach," he said, "I don't get it. I'm eating clean, hitting my program, but I feel weaker every day." I listened quietly, then asked him a single question. "How much water have you had today?" He blinked, confused. "I had a coffee this morning, maybe a soda at lunch yesterday." "Why?" That was the moment the curtain lifted. Daniel wasn't failing because of lack of effort or poor nutrition. He was failing because he was running his body dry. Muscles are nearly 80% water. Blood, the very highway that delivers oxygen and nutrients to those muscles, is mostly water. Even the cartilage cushioning his joints depends on hydration to stay resilient. Strip the body of water, and you strip the machinery of its ability to perform. Most lifters imagine weakness comes from poor programming, not enough protein, or missed supplements. Rarely do they suspect dehydration, because thirst is a subtle betrayer. By the time the mouth feels dry, performance has already been compromised. Reaction slows, power output drops, and the bar feels heavier than it should. I told Daniel, "Your body is not under-recovering, it's underwatered." He laughed at the wordplay, but the truth sank in. All the caffeine in the world couldn't mask the simple fact that his cells were starving for hydration. This, I explained, is the root cause behind countless failed workouts. Not laziness, not weak willpower, but neglecting the very element that sustains strength. The engine wasn't broken. It was empty. Daniel nodded slowly, finally beginning to see what had eluded him, and in that moment, Chapter 4. Science never lies. When I explained hydration to Daniel, I wasn't offering folklore or locker room wisdom. I was standing on the shoulders of decades of research. Strength and conditioning coaches have long understood what casual gym-goers overlook. Water is the bedrock of performance. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research found that a mere 2% loss of body water reduced squat and bench press strength by nearly 20%. Think about that. 20% gone, stolen silently, before the muscles even had a chance to fire at full capacity. Another paper from the American College of Sports Medicine confirmed similar findings. Dehydration slows reaction time, increases perceived exertion, and raises the risk of muscle cramping and injury. The science is blunt. Muscles are made of water. They contract because electrolytes flow across cell membranes suspended in water. Blood pressure, nutrient delivery, even the body's ability to regulate temperature, all hinge on hydration. Without enough of it, your body overheats, your nervous system falters, and your hard-earned training session turns into a struggle for survival. Daniel listened carefully as I laid the numbers out. For him, facts carried weight. He had built his training around precise programming, percentage-based lifts, and carefully calculated meals. Now he realized the one variable he had ignored was the most elemental of all. I told him, "You wouldn't drive your car without oil. Why would you run your muscles without water?" He smiled sheepishly, but I could see the gears turning. The science stripped away the excuses. His fatigue wasn't mysterious anymore. It was measurable, explainable, and solvable. The message was clear. Strength does not begin with the barbell. It begins with a glass. Chapter 5. The Practice of Hydration. Once Daniel understood the science, the next step was to make hydration a discipline, not an afterthought. Knowledge without practice is like a barbell left unracked. It does nothing for you. I gave him simple, actionable rules. First, calculate his daily baseline. 30 to 40 milliliters of water for every kilogram of body weight. For a young man his size, that meant close to 3 liters spread across the day. Not chugged all at once, but consumed steadily, the way a stream nourishes the land rather than a flood washing it away. Second, timing. Drink before the thirst arrives, I told him. A half-liter of water an hour or two before training. During his workout, 1 or 2 good swigs every 15 to 20 minutes. After training, another half-liter to replace what sweat had stolen. If the session was long or particularly brutal, an electrolyte mix could help, but plain water would always be the foundation. Third, habits. Daniel bought a sturdy, clear bottle marked with measurements. It became his companion, sitting on the bench beside him like an old friend. Each line on the bottle was a small accountability check, reminding him that consistency, not intensity, would keep his engine humming. Within a week, he noticed the change. His warm-ups felt lighter, his focus sharper. The crushing fatigue that once appeared mid-session now arrived far later, if at all. Muscles that had felt flat began to swell with the pump he'd been chasing. He was, quite literally, flowing with new strength. Hydration is not glamorous. It doesn't come in a shiny tub or promise instant transformation. But it works. Day in and day out, the lifter who drinks with discipline will outlast the one who neglects it. This is not opinion, it is practice, proven in the iron arena. Chapter 6. The Turnaround. 3 weeks later, Daniel was not the same young man who had stumbled through his sets with a dry mouth and heavy head. He walked into the gym carrying a full bottle at his side, not as an accessory, but as essential equipment, no different from his lifting belt or his shoes. The change was visible before he touched a bar. His posture was upright, his eyes alert, his energy steady. I watched him step under the squat rack, a weight on his back that had buried him before. This time, he moved through the reps with a calm rhythm, chest tall, breathing smooth. No grimace of exhaustion by the third set, no frustrated glance at the clock. When he racked the bar, he didn't collapse. He smiled. Afterward, he came to me, sweat dripping but voice strong. "It feels different," he said. "Like my body is actually with me, not against me." That was the proof. It wasn't new programming or a magic supplement that had shifted his performance. It was the simple habit of hydration practiced daily. His muscles now had what they needed: fluid to carry nutrients, blood volume to push oxygen, and the cushion of water around his joints to keep them safe. The transformation wasn't dramatic to the eye, but to Daniel it was revolutionary. Workouts that had ended in defeat now ended in progress. What struck me most was not just his strength, but his confidence. Doubt had been replaced by certainty. He no longer feared that something was broken in him. He understood that his weakness had never been weakness at all. It had been thirst. Daniel's success is a reminder to every lifter. Sometimes the missing piece isn't hidden in complexity. Sometimes it's as clear, as common, and as vital as water. Chapter 7. The Call of the Bottle. Every journey in strength training ends with the same truth. Progress belongs to those who respect the fundamentals. For Daniel, the revelation was water. For you, it may be something else you've neglected. But make no mistake, dehydration is the silent enemy that has robbed too many lifters of their hard-earned gains. I have seen champions fall short not because they lacked grit or dedication, but because they ignored the simplest discipline of all. They chased elaborate programs, invested in expensive supplements, and even questioned their genetics. Yet a plain glass of water could have rescued them. The irony is almost cruel. The cheapest performance enhancer in the world is also the one most often forgotten. Daniel's story is a testament to what happens when this truth is embraced. With hydration came strength, with strength came confidence, and with confidence came the drive to push further than he ever thought possible. His transformation wasn't born in a laboratory or sold in a powder. It came from honoring the most basic contract between body and lifter. Fuel the machine, and it will serve you. So now the question turns to you. As you step into the gym tomorrow, will you train armed with the simple ally that flows from every tap? Or will you enter the arena half-prepared, waiting for fatigue and frustration to strike? The choice is yours, and it is a choice that costs nothing more than awareness. Never train thirsty. Carry your bottle. Sip before thirst calls. Treat hydration with the same seriousness you give to your program and your nutrition. Your muscles will repay you, your joints will protect you, and your mind will stay sharp when the bar feels its heaviest. Strength begins with water. The bottle in your hand is the first rep of every workout.